Welcome to another mini painting video. This week I am painting Maisel from the Amazon Prime video series The Marvelous Miss Maisel. She is a late 1950s housewife who decides to become a stand-up comedian. It's a really funny show. It came recommended to me by both some of my friends and patrons as well. And even though I don't currently have Amazon Prime, I did at least watch the first episode and was really enjoying it. The main actress, Rachel Brosnahan, plays Midge Maisel so well, and she's so funny. I highly recommend it to anyone who is at all into comedy of that era. They bring in the famous comedians of the time, like Lenny Bruce, kind of befriends Midge in a weird way. Well, not that weird way, but he appears in the show. And from what I hear, he is in quite a bit of the series. And I'm really looking forward to eventually watching all of this entire series, because I've had great fun watching this first episode. So when I was watching the pilot, it was a great show, and I highly recommend if you watch it. Eventually, she gets up on stage at the Gaslight here in Greenwich Village, which I'm drawing, and so I kind of picked this moment from the pilot, which was a climax, I'd say, when she finally becomes a comic for the first time, I'd say would be a good way of putting it. She finally is talking to an audience and being funny and pushing her own boundaries and being genuinely awesome. So I thought it was a good spot for her in the show to depict. She's kind of in the middle of a joke, which I kind of like. And then you get all of these posters behind her from the Gaslight of previous comedians and acts that were here on stage. So she was spotlit, and so I was kind of trying to do some more interesting lighting techniques. Her jacket being very, very warm, this kind of bright pink, fuzzy, soft jacket. And I wanted to start pushing some cooler tones, but also some interesting, like, flat colored paper swatches. Gives it a very mid-20th century, like mid-century modern look to it, like most of the style of that time. I have a lot of books that are kind of a collection of things like fashion magazines and magazine illustrations from that time that I pore over when I'm looking for inspiration. So it was kind of nice to do something that was also set in the same era as some of those fashion mags that I sometimes look at. So I was focusing a lot on getting those posters behind her right. Essentially, some videos I will start right off the bat with a portrait, but my sketch this time around was very strong, and I thought I captured her quite well. So I was less concerned with getting her portrait right, and was more concerned about getting the atmosphere of where she was right. I felt confident in my ability that I would be able to produce a strong portrait by the time I got to it. I then just essentially had fun playing with some cooler shadows, like the really dark blue-green piano, which is just actually a couple of random shapes, flat areas of color, leaving out details where they're not entirely needed. I could have added a lot more detail on that piano, but I left it about as minimalistic as I could. I'm now going at this with some yellows just to kind of add to that spotlight look that's casting on our protagonist here. Pretty soon here I'm going to go into and start working on the jacket. I'm just working on her stool right now. But essentially, when I switched to the foreground now, I'm doing far more bolder color choices, where the background color choices were all muted. Now going back in with a muted gray, that blue-violet gray that I use in most of my paintings, just to add some detail to the signs. Not really any real words, maybe a letter here or there to make it implied that I've written something. I have blues written at the top. One of the posters by her face, but when I went ahead and added the details, I made it more of a implied lettering, not real lettering. Here I am going in with some details on the jacket, starting to build up the values here. And you can truly see the more rich color that I'm starting to build up, just to make her pop off the surface of that muted colored background. Actually going in with some reds and dark browns. She had this, I'm not entirely sure, I think it was just a scarf in her pocket. It looked like silk. I wasn't entirely sure what it was. I thought at first it may have been like a little clutch purse, but as I was watching the video, it moved around and flowed far softer, so I think it was just a handkerchief or something like that was just sticking out of her pocket. I'm not entirely sure what that was. So I kind of made it a handkerchief. I'm now starting to go in with some lighting techniques on her hair, starting with the highlights, then bringing it down. This is my second video here trying this new time-lapse, so I'm not entirely sure how much you guys really want to know in terms of behind the scenes of why I'm working through some artistic things like darkening hair and patterning, and I'm not entirely sure what you're at all interested in knowing. If you want me to focus on color choices and how I build up value on a face like I am here, or if you'd rather just hear me talk about how much of a fan of the show I am so far, and how I'm looking forward to watching pretty much every episode here very shortly. I expect I will be finding them in some way. My friends have Amazon Prime. I will probably tag along and watch them with some friends, perhaps. We shall see. Anyway, I've been having fun with this piece, and I think you guys should really check this show out. It has been renewed not only for a second season, but a third season. There's really funny people on this show, and Rachel Brosnahan is no exception. She is by far a force to be reckoned with in this show. So please, give it a watch if you hadn't. Thank you, patrons who suggested this. If you guys have a suggestion for a future mini painting, please leave it in the comments below or on my Discord server. Thank you for being a Patreon subscriber. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a good one.